All right, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and as you can tell, I am definitely off on the kilter today with the game of it all. If you don't know, this is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto network, and the basic idea is I cover the crypto news that happens between Friday and Sunday and pop it out Monday morning. As you can tell, I'm kind of delayed on the timeline. It's just been, I want to say a whirlwind in the last 48 hours, but some things have happened. But nonetheless, I'm still pushing out this content. For those of you who have been following me for a while, thank y'all for coming back. I do appreciate. As y'all know, comments is always open, and the basic idea, yeah, this is about the weekend news stuff, but it's like not about the price talk stuff. It's about events that either give indication to a new trend or a shift in, how this community is working, how things are developing, whether it be a personality or a business or a collective of folks. And I definitely got one or two stories that I think are some pretty interesting indicators. So we're gonna jump into that. Okay, so here you have it. First story: free money banking glitch goes viral, letting customers withdraw that's not in their account, what cash that's not within their account. Okay, so this didn't happen here in the U.S. This happened over in Ireland. I'm gonna just cut to that part of the chase. If anybody thought it was a U.S. side thing, this is not a actual crypto story, but here's how I'm gonna connect this. I'm gonna read a couple of the lines and then I'm gonna give you the connection. So, a software bug at a billion-dollar bank allowed customers to withdraw cash that's not theirs. The bug made it possible for people to send about $1,000 even if they have insufficient funds to digital banking apps like Revolut. When the transfer was completed, the Bank of Ireland customers could then withdraw the funds from an ATM, reports the Irish Times. Once the banking backdoor was discovered, reports quickly spread on social media as people raced to see if it would work. Now, why does this matter? Because when you get down, where is it at? The bank. Okay, so here's why I'm gonna connect. How I'm gonna connect this. So I'm jumping down to. They spoke to one person. She was like, "Yeah, I was able to get the money out because my people's put me onto it." But I was going to give the money back once I got paid. Here's this line right here. The bank had apologized for the error and says all withdrawals will be designated as a debt on the people's account. Overall, the bank says that the number of transactions conducted on the night that the issue was discovered are not a significant portion of the transaction volumes for an average day. So here's where I'm going with this. Y'all remember when the Australian couple had got Trekkw2ks had put X amount in the wrong account and then they cashed out and then they turned around and made them what did they do? They went to court, they got sued, they made them pay it back through the court process. And then someone else had the same situation happen. Here's where I'm going with this. And it shows how these crypto companies in name are actually looking to still act and be traditional financial institutions. And so the concept of the idea of not your keys, not your cheese, it's all about the one-way transaction. Like, no, that's not how they care to look at this thing, because as far as they're concerned, yes, the technology allows some like they're still using the same traditional guiding principles of how to practice being a financial institution. So it's a crypto in name company. They deal with stuff that's related to the blockchain, but they're still acting as traditional finances. And the same thing here in regards to what the traditional bank, the Bank of Ireland, did. Other thing to note, this is a perfect example of how CBDCs, when that gets pushed out in a more broader sense, it'll be the same thing. One example of how, like, you think about it in the sense of one of the reasons why a bank run is scary for financial institutions as well as for the bigger economy is because if I know the situation of the bank is going to stop being able to give out money, I run to the bank and then I withdraw what I can out of it, right? I extract my value out of that account. The same thing can happen within a crypto platform. Here's where CBDCs are funny in that you can then say, even if you were the first person or the 1,000th person to draw or extract your value from that system, from that bank, from that app, from that platform, the spending power you have can still be programmed that it doesn't matter if you got your money out or your value out a week before everyone else, 2 days before everyone else, a month before everyone else. Your purchasing power is still going to be the same. That's another part of the CBDC, aka what I call blue dogs conversation, that's not necessarily being had in full earnest, at least in my opinion. But nonetheless, I'm gonna jump on to this next story. So, next one to jump into is U.S. Seek officially acknowledges XRP is non-security in new court filing. So this story is interesting because it reminds me of that. Is it a physics test or like a logic thing where it's like, if the cat is in the box, how do you know if the cat is dead unless you look in the box? So like in that logic of argument, I forgot what it's under, what school of science or whatever it's under, but like the cat can be dead and alive at the same time. And it almost to me seems like the Seek, and if you don't know, the Seek is the Securities Exchange Commission that's here in the U.S. And so they're trying to argue it both ways, where it's just like, let me run through a couple of these lines so y'all get it. In the significant turnover of events, the United States SEC has publicly affirmed that non-security status of digital assets, including XRP. This announcement comes as part of the regulatory body's motion to appeal the Ripple victory ruling. The SEC stated in a newly filed motion. The SEC does not seek appellate review of any holdings related to the fact that the underlying asset here are nothing more than computer code with no inherent value. That wording and how they're trying to dismiss what it is, that's almost like they sideways saying they mad about it, but I'm not going to run too far on that. So here's the thing. The recognition of the digital assets are not inherently securities has elicited enthusiasm responses from the crypto community. Of course, XRP Army is all happy about it. Not that one. Where's the other one that I'm trying to find? So, meanwhile, the SEC, the U.S. regulatory, took a pivotal step to its legal dispute with Ripple's Labs. The agency submitted a formal request to the U.S. District Court in the Southern District of New York to clarify its interlocutory appeal, which I don't even know what that means exactly. Where's it go? Interestingly, the SEC's request closely followed a decision made by Judge Annalisa Torres overseeing the case. The judge authorized the agency's motion for leave for an interlocutory appeal. I don't know what that actually means. It's like, what's the difference in a regular appeal and in this kind of appeal? But the point being is, in this filing, the SEC intended to concentrate on Judge Torres' ruling concerning Ripple's programmatic sales of XRP and other distributions. Recall on the 13th of the court upheld that neither of these restrictions qualified as securities. So it's like, y'all want to say it's not a security, but then you're still trying to go at it in some way as it relates to a security. And arguably, it's almost like, yo, is it just that you want your cut? Like, so it's like, pay, and we're going to keep trying to find ways to get y'all to pay. And then once you pay, we'll leave you alone. Like, that's what I'm taking this as. But where am I going? This is significant because it also shows the lengths the SEC will go to not take a L. Like, they don't, you can't have an outright L, because if they get an outright L in relation to this company, right, or this crypto related company, what do you think is going to happen with the other ones? And trust me, there's other ones who got money with them. So you're not just going to get to do the like, oh, we're going to charge you with something, freeze your accounts, and then you can't defend yourself. What do you do when another company comes along that has more money than the XRP folks? You like, well, more money than Ripple, which is the company that makes XRP. But the point of where I'm going is that they're not trying to take a complete L, so they're definitely pushing to find some way to get, and it's gonna be funny if they make the appeal and the appeal doesn't give like 100% on their side. They're still gonna say, well, we won and we proved blah 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 blah. Just like how they try to downsway, oh, well, XRP is nothing but code with no value. Okay, sure. But you saw that there was people who were sending and extracting and transferring and doing what they were doing with this thing that they consider no value, but it adds up to some real dollar numbers, right? So it can't be no value. It's just that y'all are trying to down talk it because you're salty, but you're still trying to find a way to not take a complete L. That's how I'm looking at this. Jumping into this next story. Judge rules in favor of human ingenuity, denies copyright for AI art. Basic idea is the argument is based on the Copyright Office saying, hey, here's how we award copywritten protected certificates to IP stuff. And the idea of it has to be human generated. That's like, it's literally, that's part of the wording, human generated. If it's not human generated, then we're not counting it. We don't allow it to be copywritten. This story connects to another story that I'm going to jump into towards the end. The ruling shifts the conversation on AI and copyright, underscoring the significance of human creativity in intellectual property. Here's the other funny thing to understand about that. Think about how you have copycat people who work as copycat artists, as far as they paint stuff, they make stuff visually based on seeing someone else's original work, right? There's a level of, if you make enough changes to where it doesn't look exactly like the original piece, then okay, you can copyright it. The same thing plays out in regards to music. And think about how there are a number of lawsuits where you get people filing, hey, this person did a copy of the song that I made. So think about the line of like, what is actual human creativity? They're more so saying a human has to be involved in the process of creation. And where's the other point? The human has to be involved at the origin process of it, which arguably, if I'm using generative art, I'm the one who put the prompt in, right? So the text to image format of, I put the prompt in, it spits out this thing. But the issue is, in relation to how generative art and AI works, is that it's based on human created art, and it's people who didn't give permission to the AI platforms necessarily to use their copywritten stuff. And that's part of where this issue lies. But nonetheless, this judge still rules in favor, saying, no, we're going to uphold what the Copyright Office says. Hey, you can't copyright art generated by an AI, because the human, in the sense of, did it completely come from the human? Case in point, I can say landscape, luscious green, high definition, high contrast image of futuristic forest, and that would generate me an image. But is that the same as having someone actually draw, paint, or use some graphical tool to create that image themselves? I'm going to say arguably no. You might disagree with me. Notice I'm not reading through this whole article because I'm trying to hit the highlight points on it, because I'm on a time crunch right now. And so the reason why this case got brought up again is because there's a guy, where's the 100 is passed. This also plays into the situation with what's going on with the Hollywood stuff. But the original case was because of a guy who owns a AI that does generative art, and he wanted to make the artwork that his AI generated to be copywritten. And his logic, or how he was arguing it was, hey, if I own the company, then I'm the human that's involved in it, and then I should be able to copyright the artwork. And the artwork, as it's generated by the AI, is, since it's my AI that I created, it's under my company. If this dude would win this case, and by the way, here's the case, link for this will be in the description. You can definitely follow up and look through this. Here's the thing to understand. If this dude won the case, the Hollywood situation, it would open up a can of worms, because now you get into AI in their data sets have hundreds and thousands of scripts, of TV show dialogue, of movie dialogue. And so now, if you're the Hollywood studio, which, as far as I understand it, like, what's going on right now is, like, you can be working on a script that was generated by an AI, where you're just the editor of the script, or they can take what you wrote and then run it through an AI, and you don't get any credit after that point, or something along that lines. And this whole thing boils down to credit for your work and the royalties of your work. This is boiling down to money. And the other story also relates to how this money thing is being flipped. And so you have it that the judge is like, no, you can't own an AI generative art platform and copyright work, and then be like, well, since I own the company, that's copywritten images or content based off of my AI, and I own it as the company. The judge is like, no, that doesn't work like that. It has to be from a human, and in the full sense of not just, oh, I did a prompt and then it spit out something. And I don't know if the judge understands the technicality of that's the company, by the way. So Thaler, the CEO of Imagination Engines, a neural network company, that's the company that's been trying to win the case of saying, hey, can we copyright AI generated art, and the judge is like, no. Now, again, this is going to play into the Hollywood situation, and it will play into other things. But the bigger thing to note in this is showing that the creation of content, whether we're talking video, whether we're talking audio, whether we're talking written transcript stuff, the value of it is going down because the ability to generate has scaled to a retail level, and the difficulty barrier has been lowered. Now, we're not going to get into the minutia of like, well, how does the AI quote work to generate the stuff? We're not arguing on the prompt stuff. We're making the point being is this is showing, in my opinion, that there's about to be a shift in this decade at least, where we're seeing that there is a saturation of content thanks to AI generated art and other mediums. And so the value of what you copyright or how the markets look like right now, the ebook market is flooded with stuff. And a high degree of it is just derivatives. It's just copy and paste stuff. It's just AI generated copycat stuff. But the market is so flooded that what does it do? It drives down the price, the price discovery value of everything. Why? Because there's so much stuff out there. So what do you do if there's so much stuff and none of it is unique? You see what I'm saying? So that's part of what this situation is. I think there will be other lawsuit cases that will come up that are going to push this issue more. And I think the courts and the institutions whose business model works on copywritten protected stuff, they're going to fight more of it. But then you have the other businesses that are going to be like, well, we're easier to connect to a tech related AI project to generate stuff. Case in point, what Netflix is doing. And then you have the other one, Hollywood. I think Hollywood is arguably pushing for the AI stuff. And me and 3D a couple weeks ago on the Metaverses The Other Side thing, we had talked to King, because you know King does his acting stuff, so he on the inside, and we all came to the conclusion of we're not getting around the AI integration into our entertainment industry. Whether we're talking music, TV, or film, it's going to come in. The question is, are they actually doing it respectfully to where they acknowledge the creators as far as the writers, the visual artists, the actors themselves, and is the royalties of who's getting paid out what and who gets acknowledged and credited in their stuff going to be respectually mutual and equitable for all parties involved? That's what's going on right now. It's the whole thing of we can't just let this thing run free because it's going to skew and screw up the whole market. That's part of the issue. Anywho, let me jump onto this next thing. So what is Friend.tech, the last big trend of the industry, the cryptocurrency industry, what it is used for? So here's the funky thing about this. This title has changed at least twice this morning, from when I first saw it at like 7 something this morning to now. In short, I'm not reading this or sharing it as an endorsement of this platform, not really at all caring what it is. Why it caught my attention is because of what the revenue model is that they're using as the incentive to draw people in, or let me see what they're using as their sales pitch to draw users in. So let's get into this real quick. One of the most talked about topics among crypto community right now is Friend.tech, which I don't even know because nobody I know has mentioned this to me. But anywho, so what are the details emerging from the social media trend? Friend.tech is a new on-chain social media app that allows users to create a profile and sell their stocks to their followers. By buying someone's stock, shareholders can exchange private messages with the person and potentially profit from the person's popularity. So here's the scary part. One is the language that they're using. They're referring to this in terms of traditional finance. In my opinion, you have to be leery of that. And in my opinion, this is also an indicator of that. These are some traditional finance folks who are trying to figure out some kind of new fandangled way to get some money out of the crypto community. And where's it at? The app runs on Coinbase Ethereum Layer 2 solution base, which also recently released. Friends was launched in August 10, 2023. What? That was literally just this month. And quickly gained traction in the crypto community, with users even competing with each other to get invitation codes. So they took God, what is the name of the joint that came out during C19 and you had to get invited first and it was only on Apple? on iPhones. Oh man, I can't remember the name of the app right now, but they took that technique as far as like it's a popularity thing and it's limited access only, and then yo, this is a I want to say a crypto version of Patreon. Bottom line is that, because the idea is you build up the user base, you have people who are able to talk to you, right? Which how Patreon works. Like I can share, we can do space, like a version of Spaces, right? Oh God, I cannot remember the name for this app for the life of me right now, and I just deleted that off the phone the other day. But you're able to start your group. You do the invite thing. You get people to join in. You have to deposit 0.01 ETH in order to, like, once you get the invite and you're in, to then be in. And then basically when I remember I heard the phrase financing the physical market. This is financing network connections of people. And I honestly don't know if I see this having a long-term run, but this introduction of this type of mechanism where we're financing your network, it might not be a quote true network of like, well, I know these people, and that we have rapport, we built on projects together, and we work together or we socialize together. It's just, oh, you're connected to X, Y, and Z people. Yo, imagine LinkedIn turned around and did some dumb shit like this. Let me stop. The point being is, in my mind, this is a version of Spaces meets Patreon meets I don't know about to say Substack, but, and I cannot remember the name of the other app. The point being is they're experimenting, and I don't know how long this is going to work, but I can see another platform trying to come up with it. If they make it past the end of the year and the numbers, or at least make sense as far as like the user activity. And then the other question is, how much of it is going to be people just coming in to game the system, and they're going to be, let's say, faux accounts, and the idea is just to generate activity on the platform so that Coinbase could be like, look, layer 2 blurbs based stuff works, blah, 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 for the activity. Like, those are the things you got to consider on this. So I'm just saying, I see this as it can grow into something else, but at the end of the day, this is just another money grab for real. Because again, you got to deposit the ETH in order to even be able to like be active in the thing. So you deposit the ETH, you end up buying somebody else's thing, or the folks who are selling their stuff, and then it's KYC'd along the way. So I guess that works for you to not have people having multiple groups or multiple accounts, but it doesn't mean you can't get a clique of people together and still game the system that way. I'm just saying. Anywho, jumping off to this next one, U.S. federal court denies appeal to lift Trekkw2ks cash sanctions. So in this one, I'm gonna just go short. Basically, there were some users who came together and said, hey, this violates our Second Amendment, and we feel that you should allow us to use the Trekkw2ks because we were using it to donate to political causes. And so the judge is like, well, no, that's not how that works. This is an association. So the judge is like, this is an association of people. The judge isn't even acknowledging the technical side of what this thing actually is, known as Trekkw2ks, which is a protocol that allows you to mix cryptocurrencies together so that you aren't able to trace it from point A to point B because you mixed up the coins, quote, or tokens between different things, between different wallet addresses, right? And so the judge is like, well, if you would have argued about the Fifth Amendment, where you can't have your stuff taken from you without due reciprocity, that's a different thing. Bottom line is, the argument of, well, oh, there are bad actors using this platform, which is what the government argued, and the judge agreed with it. That, where's the line at? Yeah, so OFAC, and I've been talking about OFAC for a hot minute now, but OFAC basically was like, well, people are using it to do money laundering. You got the North Korean group that does blah, 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 and we've seen an uptick in activity, and they're using this, that, and the third. Parties disagree. No, but anyway, I can't find the thing right now. The point being is, the judge isn't going to be the one to fall on this sword of saying, yeah, it's an open source platform. Yes, it's a technology that does X, Y, and Z, because why? It doesn't help for the law enforcement side. So with that being said, and again, I could be looking at this totally wrong, I think this is more of we're going to argue it this way right now because of how law enforcement works. And granted, the judge might not be acknowledging the part of you have our side of the government, well, our side, you have here in the States that even though a quote bad actor over there is using the technology in a bad way, and even though there may be people who are using it in a quote good way, we're only going to focus on the bad actor activity and justify why we wouldn't let this open source technology be available to everyone. Just saying, this is the world that we live in, and the irony of that is you have it that the US, and especially this coming out of OFAC, which is under the Treasury Department, is like, well, you have these, scammers and stuff using this technology this way, and there's money laundering going on. The other funky part to note is it's not only the quote bad actors. The US is using it too, or certain departments, let's say that, certain departments and entities and players connected to the US is using the technology too. They just don't want the public, regular, average, everyday person using it. That's the other part of it. Right? A lot of this is about like throttling access because it connects into too many bigger sectors and marketplaces. So a lot of the regulation and the stuff that you see with judges or companies taking certain stances, it's about throttling access until they can either figure out the right revenue model or until they can get a proper grasp of how to put controls in place. Just saying, just throwing that out there. All right, so this is the story that caught my eye this morning. From NFT Now. Link will be in the description on this. So OpenSea changes royalty stance, Rarible reacts. Basically what happened here, and the link for this will be in the description. I could be totally wrong on this, by the way. Remember, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know what your life situation is like. I don't know what your finances look like, but I'm throwing these stories out here as indicators of situations that are happening in the space or confirmations of situations happening in the space, right? This to me connects to the whole copyright office issue, the AI issue, as well as the revenue model that OpenSea was working on. This to me shows OpenSea's money was not from the creators. It was from the trades. Here's why I'm saying this. So basically what OpenSea said is we're going to make it that paying royalties is optional. You have until the end of this month where it's going to start coming into effect if you're a new creator. So end of August. If you have already had a collection in place for a while, you got into I think February of next year. The point being though is they're now making it as optional. And I covered the story when it first came out because when Blur came on point and then they were siphoning off OpenSea users as far as buyers and sellers, it was a big thing for how they came in and was like, all right, well, we're only going to make the royalty fee this amount, point, blah, blah. That's it. That's all you get as creators. And that brought the buyers over to the market. So what did the creators have to do? They had to go to the other marketplace because that's where the buying volume was. The creators were following the how do I get the immediate money versus what happens on the long tail of the sale. Here's the thing to understand about this, what this is also indicating, and I'm going to throw the AI into it. If the AI generative art is now scaling the ability to create, so you need no creative impulses, you need no technical understanding, you can just put in 5 or 6 words, even 3 words. There's even generative art where you can just scribble certain lines and it will create a full picture for you. So think about this. If it's that easy to make a visual content medium such as a picture or something like that, it goes to show that OpenSea understands, based on how they're seeing the numbers from the sales, from the creators, from the volume of stuff creators are making since AI has come into the space, the value of where they can make their money is not from the creator. The value of where they get their money from, their revenue model, is from the buying and selling of what the creator makes. The royalty part takes too long to play out. And so what they're also doing is they're playing the gimmick of, well, we have the ability to make it where buyers don't have to pay a royalty fee, or they can only pay, and Blur threw the monkey wrench in because Blur was like, well, we're not going to do that whole, 2 to 10 or 15%. Like, no, you're not going past 1. So now that threw off what OpenSea does, that threw off what Rarible did, and everyone had to adjust to someone who was willing to cut the creator in favor of the buyer. And the other thing to note, and I remember when this first happened, I was like, yo, this is an indicator of like the NFT market is changing, because now the cat is out the bag that royalties are not a hard-coded thing in smart contracts. That's the other thing to understand about that. Royalties were never a hard-coded thing in the Ethereum smart contracts or the contracts that were being used in the NFT market. Unless you created the contract yourself, that is the only way you can, quote, guarantee that you would have royalties in it. So now my question is, how are the creators going to kick back on this new decision, considering the two biggest players market space wise is Blur and OpenSea? Rarible and NFT Niftygate both went on the side of the creators. That's another thing that's covered in this article. Sorry, I'm not running through right now. But they both went and said, all right, well, we're going to be with the creators. We're going to still enforce royalties. Blur is like, yo, we don't care because we got the volume of trading action going on. We understand that the value created or the value extracted as far as monetary gain is based on the trades, the sells. It's not based on what the creator is doing, because the creator is able to scale out the volume of content they create. So before, where it might have took you a week, a month or something to create these digital, items, now with AI, it takes you 5 minutes? It may take you an hour because you might do a little bit of augmentation on the stuff, do a little, put your touch on it. But the ability for you to scale how much volume of content, how much art you create, has now just got thrown out the window, and you don't even have to actually be a creative person to do it. So what do you think that says about how the market, and then how the platform that works as the middleman is like, oh, well, we got to go with where we see the money coming from, which is the buyers. But the buyers don't want to buy from creators who are going to still have them paying royalty fees after the fact. So when the story came out, the cat was out the bag. I said it. Everybody's now understanding that royalties is not hard-coded in the smart contracts unless you actually made the smart contract from scratch. But then it's like, well, what platforms can you use if the platform is like, no, you can't charge that much, aka Blur. I also am calling somewhat cap on what Nifty Gateway is doing and what Rarible is doing. I commend them for sticking with the narrative and the ideals of like creators being able to get royalties, but I don't think they're being genuine about what the actual numbers look like and where the money for them is actually being made. So they might be able to hold this shit out for like maybe another 9 months, 6 months, 15 months. But I promise you, at some point, they're going to have to change their stance, because it's going to become blaringly apparent to everyone that the money is not coming from the creators. AI has thrown a whole monkey wrench in that. It's on the buyer side. So, and I think I said that wrong as far as what I was saying before about buyer seller, but the money's on the buyer side. That's what y'all need to understand. And so, yeah, like, when the halving happens and everything, how they talk about with Bitcoin, everything else does what it does not too long after the halving. This is going to be interesting for the NFT market, because now it's like, well, what does this mean on how the community of people who are into NFTs as buyers, are they going to follow or side with creators? I don't think so. I think they're going to follow what the platforms are allowing them to do to extract what they see as the more valuable pieces without dealing with royalty long tail side. That's just my take on it. I could be totally wrong. Again, this is just my take on how I see these things and how they connect in my brain. I could be very, very wrong, because I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA, and I'm not a lawyer. And hey, like, what happens in the reality on the ground stuff will be very different than what people project or quote hope to happen, right? That's one of the things we've also learned about this space as far as blockchain, crypto, traditional finance, crypto finance, this whole Web3 argument thing. Like, for what we thought was going to be like, what it's going to be like 3, 5, 8 years back, and what's playing out right now, hey, like, what did they say? Reality stranger than fiction at times. But hey, these are just some of the stories I had caught. I know I didn't cover everything that happened over the the last 72 hours, but I hope some of this stuff makes sense to y'all. Again, I do appreciate the folks who have followed through all the way to the end. And yeah, man, like that's just what it is right now. Other than that, I gotta run. I hope y'all have a productive over busy day. Oh, if you don't know, I also do the Metaverse the Other Side, which plays out on Saturdays. We do the live on the Builder Dow account on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Link for that will be in the description on this too. And that's the whole thing too of like doing the Metaverse talk stuff, and we stay away from price talk. That I just like to give y'all a heads up. We're not about that alpha talk stuff on tokens and blah blah blah. That's not where we at. We really do just get more geeked out on the other things related to metaverses. But other than that, like I said, have a productive over busy day. And from one human to the next, if it can't be a productive over busy day, at least be in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company. And that's what I can wish you from one human to the next. Until the next one, y'all. One.